Hello and welcome to Model Train Fun. Today we are going to look at how to make a turnout digital such that we can use it from the mobile station and the central station. We are going to look at a regular turnout, a curved turnout, and how to do the double slip. This video is the second video in a three-part series. Today we're going to look at the decoder. The decoder is set, in essence, exists in three versions from Märklin. I got the oldest version here and the newest version. So the oldest version is 74460. This one you can only program using dip switches on it. Then I have the newest version, which is the 74462, which is fully programmable, understands DCC, and understands the MFX protocol. There's also a 6.1, so a 74461 decoder. It's in essence the same as the 74462, so the newest one, and you install it exactly the same way in the turnouts as the newest one here. The only difference between the 6.1 and the newest one, which is the 6.2, is that the 6.2 understands the MFX protocol. So if you have the 6.1, please install it as the 6.2 and then set the address on the dip switches. As always, please read the instructions, read the safety instructions, and only conduct installations like this with the power off. I hope you enjoy the video. Now let's look at the decoders we can add to the turnouts and double slip. Like the turnout mechanisms, they actually come in three versions. This is the original version, 74460. Then there's a 74461, which I do not have, and then a 74462, which is the newest and most modern version. If we look at this version here, basically we need to set the address by using a little dip switch. So that's a manual thing you do once. If you look at the 74461 and the 74462, the more modern ones, you can also, with these ones, set the address using a dip switch, so manually once, but you can also do it by programming. Additionally, the 6.1 and 6.2 support DCC protocol, as well as where the original one we have here, you can only set up to 256 addresses. The newer versions you can set up to 320 addresses. So in essence it means you can have 320 turnouts with the new one and only 256 with the old one. Additionally, with the new versions, with the 6.1 and 6.2, you can also solder the lantern on there. So the lantern you might want to add to the turnout. If you do that, you can actually digitally turn the lantern on and off as well. Now the 6.1 and the 74462, which I have here, the major difference between those two is basically that the 6.2 support MFX, while the 6.1 does not. The MFX gives you the ability to not preset the address, but basically let the central station determine it. Again, the turnout decoders, they can be mounted in any of the normal turnouts, the curved turnouts, and the double slip. As I understand it, they're also completely interchangeable. So any of the decoders can be used with any of the turnout mechanisms. For me, what I will do is I will use the old style decoder with the old turnout mechanism, and I'll use the new style for the new turnout mechanism. In essence, I think that's just because I like it to put it together nicely. As I understand it, there's no requirement to do so. Let's start with the original turnout decoder. comes with a manual, which I encourage you to read. It comes with a warranty card, always good to have. And then we have the turnout mechanism or decoder itself. And a couple of helpful stickers. If we look at the turnout decoder here, it's actually in a nice plastic anti-static bag. And you can see the wires as well here. So there's a warning in the manual. Do not touch any of the components here if you can avoid it. So handle it by only touching the sides of the decoder. And I'm actually looking at this one here. It looks like somebody's already set the dip switches to something already from the factory. So let's take out the decoder. Here you have the decoder. All right, let's find our turnout. So here is my normal turnout where I already had mounted the turnout mechanism. So now I need to connect the decoder. As it turns out that the wire that was with the turnout mechanism we basically don't need. So we can basically gently pull this one out. So we got that here. Now on the turnout decoder, we got 3 wires. So one multicolored here. That one actually goes into the turnout mechanism. And then we got brown and red, which is the normal ones to connect to the track. So we can get track power and we can get the digital signal. Before we mount it, we need to make sure that we set the address correctly of the dip switch. In order to do that, we look at the manual. Inside the manual, there's a table. That's this one here. And we basically need to make sure that we set the switches according to what address we want to have. So I'm just going to choose a random address here. So let me just choose, let me make sure it can be seen. Let me choose number 10 here. Well, no, let me go down to number 16 because it's easier to see. There's a fat line here. So 16, that means number 2 needs to be on, number 4 needs to be on, number 5 needs to be on, and number 7 needs to be on, and all the others needs to be off. So basically, you use this table by finding the address and then figuring out what position the switches should be in, and don't really think about why they have to be like this. Just do what it says. So let me just find. The easiest is to use a small screwdriver. So I'm just using a small screwdriver so I can push the dip switches here. So let's see how close we can get it. So you see where it says all the numbers down there, that is actually the off position. And if the switch is away from the number, it's in the on position. You can actually see it says on in the upper left-hand corner. So first I'm gonna push all the switches such that they become off. So basically just pushing them one by one. So now they're all off. You see that? Okay. Now I need to go back to my manual, and it said number 2, number 4, number 5, number 7 needs to be on. So then I basically go back here and look at it, say, where do we have number 2? You see here it starts with the left one is number 1, and then it goes all the way up till number 9, and then a 0. So I need number 2, that's this one here, that is number 2, and now I already forgot which ones it was, 4, 5, 7, all right. So I need to go, that's number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, that's number 6, and this number 7. Does that look right? 2, 4, 5, 7. So now it's programmed to address number 16. Before mounting, I'm gonna just test fit it. There's a mount point here, there's a mount point here, and there's a mount point here. And the idea is that it aligns with the holes we have on the decoder. So you see there's a hole in the board here, here, and here. So you can basically just put it on top here of the holes. You press lightly, and then you can actually see it fits. And now that's the way it's mounted in there. Now we can see I need to make this one fit over here from the decoder. If you look at this one here, you see there's a little groove on the edge of the connector. I need to fit it with the groove down here in the connector, other connector as well. So I see this one here is a little to this side, and then it looks like the bottom down there in the connector. So I basically just need to squeeze it around and squeeze it in here. So you basically cannot mount this wrong, because there's only one way. The grooves will make sure it only mounts one way. All right, I'm not having much success. Let me try it this way here. All right, so now I got it pushed in. To be quite honest, what I usually do is I mount this connector to the turnout mechanism before I screw it on. Then it's actually a little easier. We make sure that the decoder fits as well. Okay, and now I got these two wires, the brown and the red, and I can either mount them over here or over here on the turnout. So I basically got a choice. It looks like the wires can reach both. I'm gonna mount them on the closest one. Now, what you have to remember is the brown wire here is for the 0. So you see it says 0 down here. So if you put this aside, it says 0 there. So that's this connector. And then the other one is the B. If I wanted to connect it to the other side, you see there's a 0 there with that connector, and there's a B with that connector over there. So I'm just gonna mount it with the closest ones here. So I'm just gonna slide it on, okay. The other one, yeah, you need to wriggle the wires a little here. I need that one over here. So that one goes here. Well, oops, that's upside down. Okay, so now you see the brown and the red are on. See, the wires are a little weird here, so you basically just need to make sure to tuck them in a little. I usually tuck them in under the other wires, press a little, make sure the decoder is there. All right, and then you see everything is nicely here underneath the turnout. Whenever you put the turnout down, you see you can't even see the mechanism. You can still shift with the manual, and now it's also digitally enabled. As a last item, always in order to remember what you set the dip switch for, write the address on the little paper and glue it on there. Unfortunately, I don't have a pen with me right now, so I'll do that later. Let's look at the most recent version of the Turnout decoder, the 74462. So this is the version that both supports DCC and MFX. So in the box again we got a manual, we got a warranty card, and then we got the decoder itself in nice little packaging, anti-static packaging. This one has some extra cables as well. Let's try and get it out of the bag. I have a scissor to get it out. Again, make sure not to touch the electronic components, but only touch it on the sides. If we look at this one here, it looks quite different than the other version. The dip switches are here on the back, actually upside down I see. Let me try and turn it around. So here we have dip switches in the same way as the other version. However, there is one significant difference. So let's see if we can find it here in the manual. Here we have it. So if you look at this one here, the dip switch number 10 actually sets it to whether or not it's going to be DCC or Märklin addresses. And then the first 9, there's a table for, like the other one, where you need to go and set the dip switches. And it's important you use the table for the decoder that you're looking at. I see this one looks slightly different than the other version we have. You basically see here off, when everything is off, then no address is set, and then it's set for Märklin. This is actually the default for this coder. You see everything is off, it's at the bottom here, not towards on in the top. So everything is off. When it's off, then that's actually the easiest way to use it for MFX. So there's a couple of cables in here. This is the cable we need for the Märklin tracks. There is actually also a different cable in here. I believe this is either for tricks or something else. In either way, we are not going to use it. And in the same fashion as before, we can write down the address. So let's just put it to the side. I'm going to mount it here in the curved turnout, where I already mounted the 74492. However, from experience before, let me just unmount it so it's easier to plug in this cable. So I'm going to unscrew this. Now it's basically easy to dismount this cable, which we don't need. This is for the connector box. We go back to our decoder here. In the same way as the other, there's a little connector here. Same type of connector with a little groove here. We need to mount that in here, and there can only be one way. If you're inserting it the wrong way around, it won't fit. So let's see if this works. Yes. And here it is. It fits. So now we got the decoder mounted, and now this new type decoder, 74462. We need to add this wire as well. So there's another connector for that. If you look at this one here, it also has the groove. It needs to fit. So let's see how it works. Can I see how the groove is? Where's the groove? I think it's like this. It fits. So now we basically have the turnout connector connected to the decoder, and we have the additional wires we need for the light. So I'm gonna put the turnout mechanism back again, hook it to the little anchor here. So it needs to be hooked there, align with the screws here and here. And then we can basically screw it in again. I'm gonna first do this one. Then I'm gonna do this one up here. It's in. That one is good. Now you see the turnout decoder here doesn't fit next to the turnout mechanism. There's actually one point there, one point here, and one point here. It needs to fit in. So it basically goes in like this. Again, it just needs to fit with the holes. So you just align the holes here. See, this hole is aligned here. And then I need to align holes in the other end here. So basically there and there, you just press it in and it fits. Again, we got a red and a brown wire. So the brown wire goes to, you see this one here where it says 0. This one over here says B. Is it easy to see? It says B, so that's where the red goes. So brown is 0. We basically connect that here. Red is the B. So it goes there. And to be quite honest, I've forgotten where the yellow wire goes. So let's try and look at the manual. Here we have it. So what does the manual say here? It says brown for 0, red for the B, and then it says the yellow goes to another B. So that's actually to power the light. All right, so I got it here. These two spaces are taken, but there's one down at the end. So I'm just gonna sneak the wire underneath these other wires here, see if that can be done. And then it needs to make it all the way up here, so the yellow goes on the other B. So the difference here with the new decoder is it has 3 wires you need to hook up to the track. So red for the B, brown for the 0, and yellow on the other B. Again, you see I have a little of a mess of wires here. You can press it lightly, and now we have this turnout mechanism, or turnout, the curved turnout with the turnout mechanism and the decoder ready to go. I have not set any decoder address at all. Again, you see how nicely it all fits underneath the turnout, which makes it really handy for temporary layouts. Now let's go back to the double slip. So the double slip, we just need to mount a decoder. But again, learn from experience from before. it's easier to take this cable out and put a new one in if I dismount the turnout mechanism. So let me just dismount the turnout mechanism here. I'm unscrewing it. Okay. Now I can get to the cable here. I can easier pull it out. Okay. Now we got that out. Then I got another one here of the modern decoders, 74462. I got the decoder in here, the manuals and the warranty card. And hopefully I still got a scissor so I can get it out. Here we have that. I'm gonna open the bag, and again remember, don't touch the electronics inside, only sides. So I'm just gonna slide it out. We have the modern decoder again. Now it's upside down, of course. Here. Everything is on off, which is the default setting. I got the wire I need to use for Märklin, and then there's a wire for tricks, which I'm not gonna use. And again, remember there's this little one here that goes in the turnout mechanism that has a groove that we need to fit into the turnout mechanism. So basically it goes in here. Nice and easy. Now I can put the turnout mechanism back again. And here you see again there's a little tab here we need to hook it on. So I'm gonna hook it there, and I'm gonna align the screws here and here. I'm just gonna use the handle just to see if it works. It works, excellent. Now I can put the screws in. Down here as well. Tighten them. I make sure that everything still works. Everything looks like it works. Now we have the decoder here. We need to mount, and if you look at it, there's a tab there, there's a tab here, and there's a tab there. So we basically need to mount that there. So you see the hole up here fits, the hole here and here fits, and now we got everything mounted in there. The wires here for the lantern, those can be soldered actually to the decoder as well. Unfortunately I don't have a soldering iron, so I'm just gonna, so I don't get in trouble with all these wires, I'm basically just gonna unmount the LED here. It's just a simple screw, and then you basically have the LED by itself. I can mount it again later. Again, you see the handle here still works, the mechanism here still works. If you look inside the housing here, I don't know if you can see, it actually, no, it's difficult to see. It actually does change inside the little housing. It's difficult to see though without light. But now I basically have the double slip like I like it. I still have my handle on here so I can operate it manually. I got my turnout mechanism and decoder so I can operate it digitally. And when you put it down, it's nicely hidden. But I did forget one thing though. I just realized that. I need to put this wire in the decoder as well. It needs to go in there, which is hard, so I need to dismount the decoder again. Again, this is the wire that has the grooves. I don't know if it's easy to see. Let me just see here. Yeah, so there's grooves here again. They need to fit in the decoder hole, the little one here. So let me just see if I can make it fit. I think it goes in like this. Again, just try it out. If it doesn't slide in nicely, it's probably upside down. Then you try again. Okay. This time it fit. Okay. It fits in there. I can put the decoder on again. Okay, everything fits. Now I got my 3 wires. I need to fit again. The red is for B. The brown is for the 0. So it is a little difficult to see what is what here. So I'm just going to sneak a peek at another one. If we look at it here, you see this is the curved turnout. The O is the one where it sticks out a little more than the B, right? So the B is a little closer to the edge, right? So the one that sticks out a little more is actually the O. I go look over here. You see this one sticks out a little more. It does look like there's an O there. I'm a little unsure if that's a real O or just a marking in there. So that's the B and that's the O. On the other side, there is actually only one, and that's for the B. So I need to make this brown wire here fit down there, the red wire there, and the yellow there, or I can put red and yellow wherever I feel like here. So let me first do the brown wire. So the brown wire needs to go on this little thingy here. All right. I need my red wire to go on the one next to it. So I'm going to fit that one there. All right. Now the yellow wire is actually awfully long. You see, it needs to sit in here. So what do I do? What do I do? I think I'm going to try and tug in the yellow here underneath the decoder. Let's try that and see if I can push it in. So I'm just going to push it in here. Now we have to be careful because if you look at it, there's a little metal thingy. That's the mechanism that changes this double slip. But let's try this. I'm just going to put it on here. All right. Everything looks good. I try the manual thing here. And I see everything works. And if I look here at the wires, it looks like it's not touching the wire, which probably more luck. All right, so now I got it done. Everything is basically underneath. Don't forget that anything that's leftovers, right? I have that one there. I got the screw for the lantern. I got the lantern itself. I got additional wires. Just always save that. You don't know when you need it, but one day you will, and you'll be sorry you don't have it. All right, now we made our turnouts digital. So in each of our turnouts and the double slip, we have mounted a turnout mechanism that can move the turnout, and then we mounted a decoder. So In the next video in this series, we will look at how to connect the mobile station and the central station to these digital turnouts. A couple of hints I can give, by the way. If you have a three-way turnout, you cannot reuse the same decoders as you use in standard turnout and the double slip. There's a special decoder for that. However, the turnout mechanisms, you can use those in the three-way. As a final thing, what I really like about having the decoder and the turnout underneath here is it's great for temporary layouts. They move around with the turnout. You cannot see the wires or anything. There's no extra wires. You just connect everything together and it works. However, if you're considering a permanent turnout, then instead of buying individual decoders, you can actually buy what's called an M83. The M83 is for more permanent installations, and it will actually replace 4 decoders. So in that way, becoming more cost effective. We will look at the M83 in a future episode. If you like this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel.